Welcome back to another week with the Paint and Pendulum at Heroes and Hooligans. This week we have something a little different. Last you left the party, we had gotten out of the Giant's Keep and headed back towards Escor, where Sylvia has gone off to handle some business with her secret society. And Handuk and Tick are enjoying a performance by a very well-known artist of the land, and they'll be enjoying this here tune.
And minutes of uncertainty, I want to be in the warm hold of your loving mind, to feel you all around me and to take your hand along the sun. But I may as well try and catch the wind. When sundown veils the sky, I want to hide a while behind your smile, and everywhere I look, your eyes I'll find. For me to love you now would be the sweetest things, would make me sing. But I may as well try and catch the wind. Dooey dooey, dooey dooey, dooey dooey, dooey dooey.
Oh, Handuk, do you ever get tired of hearing that guy complain about how crappy his life is when he only did it to himself?
Yes, and everyone he slung through the dirt. Everyone.
He's a real pain in the ass, that Vanguard. Hey, while Sylvia's off with her friends, we should look around and see if we could find anybody wanting to accompany us on our upcoming trip to the Fjordlands.
Yes, I'd be. We should have some armed guards at least.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Obviously, traveling companions. You know, there's a lot of people here looking for a purpose. It seems to me.
You excuse me, sir. You said purpose, adventure. Hi, how you doing? My name is Scully.
Nice.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Nice to meet you, Scully. My name is Tick, and this is my dear friend Handuk.
Handuk. Hello, everybody. I'm Scully.
Yeah.
I was passing by him over here in the conversation. Sorry for dropping by. You know, I wasn't really meant to. My last group decided to part ways. They got their riches and left. So I was like, I think I still have a little bit in me to continue adventuring.
Well, actually, we could use some help. We're headed up to the Fjordlands soon. We've got some business to handle there. It's quite a distance from here, but extra hands would be great. What do you think, Handuk?
Mr. Scully, would you tell me a little bit more about yourself? You have a very mysterious look about you.
Oh, it's just, I had an accident, and I like to cover my face, not to scare people.
Oh my, I'm so sorry. Please
It
accept my
happens in the best world.
apology.
You know how adventures are, danger. People lose limbs and stuff like that. So I try
Yes.
to hide, so I don't scare the kids and people in town.
Yes. Yes, we don't want to scare the children, but there's plenty out there to scare anything with all the zombies running about and
Oh, zombies! Oh, you mean those friendly people? they don't mind. They don't even give me a scratch. They say hello from time to time and stuff like that. They don't bother me whatsoever.
I call them my former countrymen.
Yeah, they're people. That's once upon a time, they were alive and they passed away, but their spirit and energy to battle is still there, and that's always gonna be useful if I don't tell you.
Yeah,
Yes, I'd like to have more in-depth conversation on this very subject, Mr. Scully. Would you accompany us to the north?
Oh, why not? I have nothing better to do. Well, I was actually going to the guild to find a party, but hey, you guys seem intriguing enough to join in adventuring. I enjoy that very much.
if you think we're intriguing, you should see our friend. You should see our friend.
So about now, a very short human will have moved closer as if eavesdropping, but doesn't really say anything.
And Duke, do you think there's anybody else that you can see nearby that looks like a formidable ally?
Yes. Let me see. It's kind of dark in here. Yeah, let me get a little closer to the fire where my arthritis isn't as bad. Turn my neck. I don't see any big, burly people here. Like, I really am looking for a big, burly fighter type, That's what we need, Tick. Someone to stand in front of the goblins and the undead and take the blows and fight valiantly for us and for the world, for that matter.
You do realize that you don't have to be big in order to be valiant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see you standing there. Yeah. Oh no, I am not trying to say that the small cannot be valiant. I'm just saying, in a simple sense of weight and mass ratios and force, I am just simply saying, as large beings are heavier,
Which means that they fall more easily when you push them over.
Yes. You look quite scrappy.
Yes, well, working in the Red Guard does build one's abilities. I am Ren, and you are.
I am Handuke. Nice to meet you, Ren.
I'm Tick. Nice to meet you as well. You said Red Guard.
Oh, hello,
Yes.
I'm Scully.
Yes, this is Scully, the fellow with the mask on.
She nods at him politely and looks at Tick. Yes, I said the Red Guard.
You know Zada Rib Splitter then. Actually, I believe she's now called Zada Regina.
Yes, I am one of her guard.
I'll turn to Handuk and give him a kind of, that could be potentially useful sort of look.
Yes.
Turn back to her. Rin, are you still active in the guard?
I am, but I am on leave at the moment.
Well, my friends and I are getting ready to take a trip north to the Fjordlands. And we don't some sort of fighting maneuvers, but somebody trained by the Red Guard would probably be exponentially useful to us. How do you fare accompanying?
I do like to travel. I do like to be in the open land. It does seem interesting, if need be. A little freedom would be welcome.
Yes, we could certainly use. And each other's company is never bad on the long roads, plagued by bandits and cutthroats and all manners of hideous beasts such as gnolls and worse.
In the nearby, you see a bit of a flurry of feathers as you see a kinku gesturing at yourselves and back at his own shoulder, moving forward as if trying to... At first you think he's trying to get your attention, but you realize he's trying to get the attention of whatever it is on his shoulder. And as he approaches, finally he seems to catch the attention of the lizard on his shoulder, who then perks up and looks at the group expectantly.
Well, I've seen some interesting things, Handuk, but that is absolutely probably one of the most interesting I've seen today.
The
lizard speaks up. Yes, my friend is quite interesting, I suppose. I've been indicated that you are seeking to travel north.
Yeah, we are seeking to travel north, actually, to the Fjordlands.
Ah, excellent. My next point of research would actually take me there. If you don't mind me and my novice accompanying you, of course.
Well, Handuk, we did say we were looking for a few extra hands. What do you think?
Yes, and a few extra tails and wings I see we've gotten in the catch as well. Ah!
Ren grins at that.
And even a beak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to introduce my four brothers. They're kind of shy. They don't talk at all, and they're really skinny. There are only four of them. Beside X and Logan. Please follow me. As you see, four look-at humanoids fully covered in leather armor, bound and everything. They look really skinny. And they move in not a certain kind of a way. But they're good friends of mine. You know, they carry my equipment, they assist me in other manners. They got bows and swords. They're good assistants for me. They always follow me wherever I go. They're good helpful. But please don't touch them or interact with them. They're really shy and they don't like people as much.
Well, they certainly don't look like they would eat very much. More bugs for the rest of us.
Yeah, you know, they have their own picking of food. I like to feed them myself, you know. You know how it is, you know, your friends, you know, they only trust certain people, you know, touch your hands.
Yes, I understand. Bryden is quite clumsy himself.
Yes, and if you have anything heavy or something, they can assist, you know. My strength is not what it used to be. I'm kind of, my intellect is how I fight. My strength is not my forte. That's why I have my friends accompanying me. And you see that one with the crow on the shoulder? That's the leader of them three. I call him Beast.
Ah, yes. I am a bit of an intellectual myself.
We'll tell stories later on. I love intellectual stories.
Speaking of stories, Handuk and I were just about to set up our camp in a normal camping spot for the evening. You guys can come join.
Don't mind if I do.
Thank you.
The Kinku speaks up. Come join, come join.
So, Tick will head off towards their normal spot where they camp and sleep and start putting up the tents.
You see my companions start building the tent. I keep giving them orders, and they're like hammering spikes into the floor, banging into their hands sometimes.
All right, Tick. I'm over there helping you put up the tent, and then I whisper to you, I think that Mr. Scully is a necromancer.
And if he is, Handuk, what better way to defeat a necromancer than have one on your team?
Are you saying in a world of madness, one must be mad?
I'm saying we're all mad here, Handuk.
It's just that I'm a lawful good cleric of life.
Good people sometimes have to make sketchy decisions for an overall good outcome. Remember, there's something bigger here at play than our small world decisions now, Handuk. Remember the chronometron.
I know. It can all be better if we just do what we have to do. You're right. You're right. Okay. Yep. Okay. It's just for his little entourage. He's talking about feeding them, and you know, and I know what they're eating. Okay. So I'm just a little leery.
Well,
I won't bother you about it again. Okay.
I don't think they're going to eat us. They'll be able to maybe feast on the carcasses of our enemies.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping for.
No body, no evidence.
Yeah, I just yeah. Okay. Okay, I won't say anything.
As you see my companions come by with a little tray, it looks like beef jerky, and it goes. Trying to. Oh, my companions, I want to offer you a treat as a custom in my culture to give food for the many. And this is one of my own specialty cooking. It's a little beef jerky, really good meat.
Oh no! Thank you. So, Mr. Scully, I'm a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. In my land of Matra, we had such a population we could only feed it with vegetable matter.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Oh.
Bryden readily holds out his hand.
And as he gives it to you, and the taste is like a tangy, spicy meat with a little hint of salt.
So after getting the tents up, Tick will light the bonfire there in the middle, and then also see as she kind of walks to the ring on the outside of their camp, you'll see her hands kind of move very mathematically as little equations and spell kind of like magic kind of comes across her fingertips, and she casts a warding alarm around the campsite, and then she'll sit down by Handuk at the fire.
Ren, while all of this is going on, has scouted along the outer edge to make sure of the area, and then stops when she sees Tick do that and says, "You've beat me to that. Excellent."
Yeah, it's just habit to. I've been the one kind of doing our alarming for so long. It's just habit. But if you're capable of doing it, by all means.
Everybody, please say the word Mendula.
The word what?
Mendula.
Mandula.
Please, everybody, Handuk and Wolf, please.
Wait a minute there.
It's an alarm system that I have for myself too, and you have to say the password or the creature that I summon might not be so friendly if you don't say the word Mendula.
Okay.
It's my own warning system. In case at night, I like to protect my friends and myself.
You have to understand, I've come through a real situation where I've taken an oath that almost took my soul to a wormy grave.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And it was only words that I had recited that damned my soul to Mendula.
I do not tend to just do as I'm told.
It's just a favor. It's for safety measures. I create a phantom watchdog, and I require a password to be said so he can recognize who's friendly and who's not. And for safety, I require to say the password so we can sleep soundly and be protected the best to my abilities.
I'll put my hand on Handuk's shoulder. Handuk, I've seen this kind of magic before in Kindermoon. It's okay.
Yes, I say the word.
Very well, Mandula.
Please, small person, please. I do not want to cause you harm in any way, shape, or form.
Nor I you. I understand.
All right. So, as I move my hands, grab a bone, snap it in the air, the ground kind of trembles, opens up into the ground. A beast you see for a couple of seconds, a hound dog with a fiery breath disappears as it just appears. So now we're protected. My invisible hound dog will definitely protect us all night for 8 hours. And I'll recover my slot, my intellectual spell back when I take my rest. He'll move around 100 feet, guard the whole area, and nobody will be able to see him ever.
I have not spoken your word as of yet.
Oh, as I move away, as I go 35 feet away from you.
What was that
Mandula.
word?
Mandula.
Mangula?
Dula.
Mandula.
That's something you didn't see before. Now you saw it for a glimpse of a second as you said the password, and then it disappears again in front of you. Just a really horrifying dog.
Oh, it reminds me of home. I like dogs.
Oh, he's one of a kind. I call him Spike. He's a good phantom watchdog.
He
He
looks
has
nice.
protected me all nights.
So listen, guys, now that we're here around this campfire and you have decided to kind of join up with us, we have another friend, Sylvia. She's off handling some other business. When you get to meet her, she's very lovely, very smart, and don't let looks fool you. She's not evil, really, but she kind of maybe looks it. Right, Handuk?
Yes. Yes. She looks like one would describe, well, let's put it this way. She has horns that come out of her head like a goat or perhaps a bull. She's very attractive. Very attractive. She has a tail and she has red skin. So some people think she looks a little evil when they first see her. But I can
She
assure
sounds like a
you,
lovely nymph.
yeah, she is actually extremely intelligent and helpful and very sly.
Is she one from those demon kind people?
She does look like a demon, yes, Mr. Scully, but I assure you, you do not want to call her that to her face.
Forgive me. I sometimes I can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
Pale red skin,
yeah.
you know. Hey.
She's I think they're called, what is it? Handuk Tiefling, I think is what they're called.
Oh, one of those kind.
Tiefling.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, she's a really great person. Now listen, So we're headed up to the Fjordlands in the north. We have this meeting we need to arrange with a dragon. I know most people don't really want to arrange meetings with dragons, but rest assured it's absolutely helpful and necessary. And the dragons have a lot more play in this world than you probably realize, as Handuk and I have spent the last time of knowing each other finding out.
Does this dragon know of this meeting?
Well, dragons are kind of smart, but we didn't really send a messenger in advance and ask permission. So I'm going to go ahead and say we weren't cordially invited. So no.
That is good to know.
Will there be any problems? Because I am very flammable.
Well, it's not a fire-breathing dragon. It's an ice-breathing dragon. So hopefully you have some cold weather clothes. If not, we can get some. But this dragon just happens to be in possession of an item that we require. So it's of utmost importance that we obtain it really at all cost. Tell me, what do any of you really know of the dragons in this land?
I don't really know much about the dragons.
Okay, well,
I know more about the undeads, elementals, illusion and creatures, and mostly that's my kind of forte.
well, I didn't really know anything about dragons until recently, right? Handuk can probably recall some very good information about dragons as well, but
Yes, all I know is, of course, related to, well, where I'm from, Harboron. Mm-hmm.
yeah, speaking of Harboron, there's a dragon that lives very near there. His
Mhm.
name is Maestro. He's a red dragon, and I actually have a bone to pick with that guy. Very long time ago, my people lived where Harboron actually is, and that terrible, awful red dragon pushed them below ground, just in a place between the Underdark and the surface, and has kind of, been living in the mountains ever since. Being in the Red Guard, I'm sure you've heard probably of Maestro a time or two.
Yes, unfortunately.
He's kind of on our shit list for multiple reasons. But I don't think he's the biggest jerk in the world, dragon-wise. We met that, what was that guy's name? Handuk Lagerman feller?
Yes, the green dragon.
Yeah. Say, Handuk, you maybe probably remember a little bit more about him than I do.
Yes, the proper name of the dragon is Cyrano Arborfell, and from my old man's recollection, he was able to corrupt the king of the elves some long time ago and somehow drive the king mad, and the mad king went off into some other forest while the green dragon was happily in his depopulated forest, all to himself. This is what I know of them, and of course, my beloved star child, Olazana, is somewhere out there now, probably trying to find an arrow to slay this green beast, trickster, malignant.
Ren growls a little, almost wolfish.
Yes.
in regards to the green dragon.
And Rin, I must tell you that this green dragon had probably claimed 1,000 or more of your country people in the failed attack of Harberon on the forest.
Yes, I know.
We met that guy once, right after I met Handuk, actually. It was very suspicious meeting him, and I knew something wasn't right, but we weren't 100% certain at the time that he was a dragon until afterwards. He told us his name was Lagerman Feller, which was a lie. He claimed the life of, his forest did, claimed the life of a warlock gentleman. I had just barely met him. I can't quite remember what his name was, Handuk.
The Serpent Man. He was a dragonborn.
Yeah, I don't quite remember his name.
Gosh, I forget his name. It was so long ago. I only knew him for a few days.
I had just barely met him, yes. But Olazana, that Handuk speaks of, is a friend of ours as well. Her
and she is the chosen one, which is more important than anything.
Something like that.
Exactly like that.
Her and Don, who I suppose we could call also a friend, they've gone kind of on their own way to handle business in their own sort of desire. But Esmeralda is very important to Olazana, and so she most certainly is probably after that dragon. Her people used to live there in Esmeralda long ago, as Handuk spoke of, before that damn dragon drove them out. So you see, we don't really enjoy dragons too much, but this, I believe, silver dragon or white dragon, something along the lines, isn't supposed to be too terrible, but they have an item that's important to us.
Well, if they fall, don't mind me if I like to skin them. The hide should sell for a lot.
Would gladly help you.
Dragon hide is, a lot of resistance to a lot of things, and making armor out of that.
We will share the gold with you, for these dragons are known to hoard massive amounts of gold. We will share the gold, the treasure, the magic, except we must take possession of the item.
Well,
yeah,
I can use me and my friends. We can definitely help you in this quest.
Yes.
What is this item that you seek from this dragon?
It is a puzzle pieces of items that we seek. My companion Tick knows exactly the details, but I know it is many items in order to create a greater item.
Yeah, I can't tell you particularly much about it, simply because you do understand we've just met and it's a very sensitive project. But say maybe once we learn more of each other, then we could talk a little bit more about what exactly the item is. I'm sure you do understand my need to keep that sort of sensitive information private, yeah?
Certainly you wouldn't want someone to get to the prize before you. I understand.
No.
Yes, and the importance of these things is so immense that entire nations fall and are risen with our success and failure. So there are many interests at work against us and perhaps for us.
And I must say, it's not really a matter of somebody finding a treasure before us. It's worth no amount of money in the world could possibly equate out to what this particular item is worth. And I dare say it's a matter of saving the world in a sort.
A noble task indeed, then.
There's a lot of things going on. in the world. We've met some people and learned some things along the way. Speaking of learning things along the way, have you by chance encountered any of the lighthouses in the land?
Lighthouses on land? That seems very odd. Aren't they usually in the water?
Well, so there's one on the coastline in the north that actually we'll be heading to after we politely take dinner to the dragon friend that we're going to make there. And I was just curious if maybe you had seen any in your travels. They're very peculiar lighthouses. We've seen only one, Handuk, in our travels.
Yeah, it's very impressive. It was powered by an elemental, I believe.
Yeah, some sort of light elemental.
Elemental, you say? Huh.
Yeah, he seemed to be harnessing the energy of the sun. And when we entered this lighthouse, we had to avoid some very deadly rays of sun that we weren't quite expecting. But when we got up there, there was this kind of sounds coming from this panel that seemed like it could be activated in some sort. I didn't quite understand it when we met it, but I believe it's some sort of teleportation system. After kind of learning about my own sort of teleportation circles. But yeah, there's we met a group a while back when we were at a tavern in Broadwalk called the Saison, and they had encountered a lighthouse in the north and explained that it was controlled by some sort of different elementals. They didn't get it to activate, but they said they had dealt with a lot of different earth and air and fire and water elementals there. So that's a place that we're going to visit as well. I think there's a whole system of them around this world, actually, and I am curious to know if we can activate them and use them to our advantage in our traveling.
I do believe you are correct. I have a fascination with the maps and geography, and I do recall a number that have been denotated. So I do believe that it may be possible.
Yes.
Quite the ingenious way to travel. Certainly helps cut down on walking.
Yes, so I only know exactly, and I think we had heard mention of one elsewhere, southern along the coast, down kind of south of Esmeralda or near there. But I'm not really 100% sure. But I know for certain there is one in the north, in the Fjordlands on the coastline. So that's something that I'm very curious to check out. And I believe actually there's also another piece to our puzzle, per se, hidden there.
Yes, there's some sort of concentration of these treasures which we seek in the north, although they are spread out throughout the lands.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably not going to be easy. We've run into a series of opponents along the way. On one of our trips, we had even encountered revenants. And I'm not quite sure, but I think, remember one of them swearing vengeance on Handuk. So that could happen at any time.
Oh, you got fans. The fans interesting.
Rin lets out another slow growl. The idea of a revenant.
But certainly you could simply duel this fellow and then put an end to his vengeance, right? Or are you afraid that he would, his skill is too great for you, Handuk?
Well, as you can see, I am in advanced age. Maybe in my younger years I could have fought back effectively, but in hand-to-hand combat, I would never have a chance. But of course, I would just channel the power of my Star God, and using the very power of the universe itself, blast this revenant into 1 trillion pieces of matter scattered throughout this world. And there may be pieces of this revenant that blast up so high into the sky that birds would be struck down.
Whoa. Fascinating.
You seem to be a very powerful wizard indeed.
For I have a great power against the undead.
As you say undead, I get up and do 3 step back. Excuse me, you said undead? Why you have a thing against the undead? The undead seem harmless.
Well, this fellow seems to have something against Handuk to begin with. He's simply defending himself by destroying him.
Interesting.
Yes, I consider myself a bit of an undead destroyer.
That seems troublesome.
Just
Well-
imagine how frightened this revenant fellow would be if he were an undead.
Well, Scully, let me tell you something. When you've delved into the kind of dungeons I've delved in, there's a reason why these evil people use the undead. I'm not saying that the undead cannot be used for constructive purposes, maybe literally for construction. But these undead, basically, wizards will just drop them at the bottom of the pit, close the temple up, and, you know, an adventurer comes through there 400 years later and falls into the pit. The zombies are still ready to go, baby.
Oh my god!
Cowards.
What a waste of good undead.
But I find the way you use these undead in some strange way, I feel that you're onto something here.
They're more useful than being discarded.
Believe me, when I first saw them, I knew exactly what they were. And in the back of my mind, I said, will I blast these abominations into oblivion? And I said, no, I shall not, because the Star God has a greater purpose for me, and your purpose is with me, Scully.
That's wise decision, my friend. Wise. This undead served me as my brothers. They have fallen, and instead of burying them, I decided to keep them around to remind me that evil is there's always more evil out there to be destroyed.
Yes.
And my friends are here to destroy it with me.
Well, Scully, let me ask you something. If we should come to a dungeon with it's filled with undead, and we must slay them and destroy them, right? Or you do not want to free these undead? Not in mass.
Let's put it this way. They're still useful in death or in life. Parts and other things can be assimilated to my friends, to keep them up and running always. So, always for the greater good. But please do not harm my brothers. They are the closest thing to family I have.
No, I would never do that. I do not wish to see you in anguish and see your family members blasted into billions of pieces by my Star God's magic. I would never do that.
That's great news to hear. I have put them together many, many times together over and over again. I know them inside and out, but blasting to 1,000 million pieces, it seems that would be I couldn't even bear to see that.
I'm sorry if I have caused you any emotional distress.
My heart's beat when you said those. My heart started beating 1,000 times. I thought it was going to come out of my chest.
Well, I won't tell you the tale of Eddie then.
Actually, the tale of Eddie is a good one, Han Duke.
Oh, the tale of Eddie. Yes. Tick, I don't remember the entire tale of Eddie, but I do remember there was a lot of mummies. The mummies, all the wrappings in the wind, smelling of spices. It is intoxicating, the spice. And I remember how everyone was cursed with the mummy's rot.
Oh, that tickles. That doesn't do it. That doesn't even faze me.
Well, it didn't tickle me, and it almost actually killed me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
Necrotic magic. It's
our friend
usually has no effect on me.
Oh yes, yeah, no, it was not good. I almost got dead, but I didn't, thanks to my friends. That was really nice of them for worrying more about my life than materialistic possessions, which were recovered upon our trip to visit this darling Eddie friend of ours, who's not our friend anymore. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting trip. As we said, our friend Sylvia, she has connections places, and they needed her to do a thing, and we accompanied her. And we got to this pyramid, and it had this obelisk out front that had this clock stopped at 2 minutes to midnight. And all of a sudden, out of this pyramid, these mummy undeads attacked us, so we had to melt them to get inside of the building. And then when we got to the building, there was this musical puzzle. Luckily, Sylvia is a musician, and we figured it out and got inside. And when we got inside, there was this very large, very not nice construct, which technically I really enjoy constructs when they're used in a constructive purpose, when they're being conducive to the environment, not when they're trying to take my head off. You see, I'm kind of what they call squishy, and that thing tried to kill me. So we had to kill it, and it had a pretty awesome helmet, which we gave to a fire giant, so we didn't get dead, and also he had a thing we needed. And then there was this undead sort of wizard, I think he was, Handuk. He cast some sort of magic, but his name was Eddie, and we had to deconstruct him to deconstruct the construct, I suppose you could say.
Whoa.
But you see, we ended up with the item that we needed, and Sylvia was able to do what she needed to do for her mission, so it worked out in the long run. Once you meet her, I think you're really going to like Sylvia a lot. She's a really good person.
There is one point that I'm not clear on. What did you do with the undead's children?
The mummies?
Yes.
We unraveled them, so to speak.
I see.
I do not believe they had children, did they?
Well, they were mummies. Obviously they did. Otherwise they wouldn't have been mummies.
Speaking of Sylvia, there she is now.
Oh, hello. I look at all these unfamiliar faces.
She
Nice
should
to-
say the word quickly.
Sylvia, please. Before you enter the area, I sent an alarm system. And oh, Jesus, I think I forgot the word. Anybody remember the word? Man.
Mandala. Mandala.
Oh, yes, Mandula. Please say Mandula, please.
Mandala?
Mandula.
Mandula.
As you see a phantom hound appears for a second and then disappears again. That's my guard dog. It protects us from harm. all around us as we are camping. In case it sees something, it'll bite into it before it enters the area.
Yeah, Sylvia, come sit. We, while you were doing important things, Handuk and I were looking for some formidable allies to accompany us on the trip to the Fjordlands. And we've made some very interesting friends, which I think are going to be great in our adventuring.
All right, then. Nice to meet you. I just look blankly at everyone.
The lizard standing on the Kinku's shoulder bows and says to you, "And it's nice to meet you as well. You're a lovely nymph. I don't understand what your companions were saying."
Wait, what did they say about me?
That people think that you're evil for some reason, but no, you clearly you're not. It's fine.
Oh, we think I'm evil. Oh, okay. I look at Handuk and Tick like, what the hell? And just take a seat.
I do believe what I said was, don't let appearances fool you, that Sylvia is a very smart and kind woman, regardless of what anybody thinks about her appearance. It does not mean that she's evil.
Yes, and I simply described your physical appearance in, I would say, very flattering terms.
The about 4'10" human female stands up, bows, and says, "He was quite flattering about how beautiful you are, with quite good description." And she waits until you sit down.
I stand up. Hello, I'm Mr. Scully, and these are my 4 brothers, Beast, Sai, X, and Logan. And all 5 of us bow. It seems like a customary greeting, so he bows to me. Then he sits down, and his companion after him sits down next to him.
I'll give a nod of recognition to everyone and take a seat. All right, well, I'm Sylvia, and I know some of you now. Sorry for the delay in getting here. I had a little bit of business to take care of.
Well, Ren will sit down after Sylvia sits down and adds, I do apologize. My name is Ren. Pleasure.
And all right, good.
The lizard speaks up. "I am Master Ilian, and the bird here is my apprentice Bryden."
Well, it's lovely to meet all of you. What were you discussing before I came back?
We were just talking of some of our adventures and of dragons and how they're bigger assholes in the world than people even realize. And these fine folks have agreed to accompany us north to the Fjordlands to have tea with a very lovely, cold-breathing sort of dragon in order to procure our puzzle piece.
Oh, that's excellent news, actually.
I didn't quite tell them about the puzzle much, just that we need the pieces and putting it together.
Yes, it is very important we get all of these pieces. And
Have you acquired any of these pieces before?
Sort of, but then we kind of traded a piece in to get more pieces.
Ah, yes, to the very large fire. I remember you saying as much.
Yeah, the fire giant. Yeah, that helmet was a piece of the puzzle we're putting together, but we'll get that back eventually. I have a feeling that fire giant and I made a really good connection. You sort of saw the sparkle in his eye when he looked at me. It was almost electrifying, but it kind of ignited a fire in my soul.
So he has one. How many pieces are we missing in total, if you don't mind me asking?
How many pieces are we missing in total? Hold, please, and I will tell you.
I said take out some beef jerky and give it to my brothers.
We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, about 10 of them.
But we have one. The fire giant has one.
Well, we know actually where these pieces are.
Yes, we do have an idea of where to find all of them. It's just a matter of getting a hold of them.
Intriguing.
Yes, they're very important. We also spoke a little of the lighthouses, Sylvia. I had asked them if they had if they had ever seen any of them in their travels, but unfortunately, they hadn't. We talked a little about Ren here is former Red Guard for Zada Ribsplitter.
Oh, okay. Did you enjoy being in her service, or?
Yes. And hope to return.
Oh.
That could be potentially useful in the future.
I hope to be useful at all times.
And Sylvia, I have an expertise with the undead, so they should not bother us in any way, shape, or form. I know how to deal with them, or dismantle them, or put them into my servitude if it's required.
All right.
Master Elian, I don't think I remember you saying where you were from.
I have traveled so much that it's hard to keep track. Unfortunately, my original home was destroyed many, many years ago.
Isn't that the way of this world, it seems? Everyone's homeland is destroyed, misplaced, refugees, zombies walking about, dragons. What
Yes,
is to be
in my
done?
case, it was very nasty creatures, slightly demonic.
Are you the last of your kind, Master Elion?
No, there are other Arakrocker about, but I am the last of my school. Yes.
Yes.
You said you are the last of your Aarakocra? You don't seem to have feathers.
Oh no. And currently, I do not. I was rebirthed with this form, and I hope to get my original one back.
You say rebirth. What do you mean by this?
So, have I mentioned that my apprentice is an idiot? No, the school was attacked, and I was at death's door, and he gathered the sacred scrolls and used them to save my life. And well, I am like this now.
So this is actually a magic effect upon you, which is a sort of a curse, which has changed your form from my understanding as the Aarakocra, the large, tall, winged humanoids.
Yes.
Ah. Well, at least you're alive.
Yes, I do have that to be thankful for. Thankfully, Bryden, he's a good boy, and we've traveled together, seeking a way to restore my form.
What do you think it should take?
Well, I am not entirely sure yet. We've compiled what we can into a book, and we hope to one day complete the spell.
Have you ever consulted the stars and universe itself?
In my meditations, yes.
I will meditate upon this and speak to the very God of the universe. And I will tell you if I have learned anything of your plight, Master Elion.
Ah, that would be most helpful.
I am a totally hopeless philanthropist, savior. I only wish to save the next poor bird with a broken wing. I only wish to take the hook from the fish's mouth from the irresponsible fisherman, and so on and so forth. Put a little wagon under the dog that has lost both its back legs, see it scamper about, but yet live. This was the way of my homeland. And we had a population that had grown incredibly thick. I mean, it was like, 25,000 people per square mile in Matria. We had to recycle our own human waste in large pits, which I was a captain of a boat, which was in that lake, which is how I worked very hard in the poop pits, and we called it resource reclamation. But yet the people lived for many, many years. Some people, the Matria, lived to 400 years old. But
that is
it was
a mighty length of time to live, indeed.
Yes, but I learned through the Star God that it's meaningless because it was all just suffering. It was just suffering, just living to die eventually, but you're already dead. It's almost worse than being undead. Anyway, I've rambled on for too long. I'm an old man. Let me get closer to this fire and my arthritis.
I understand. I'm a bit of an old man myself, having already lived for 50 years.
Wow, okay.
I just say the undead, the doors, they're not. As my old hag mother said, you shall live once and many more. Dying is for the weak, and always living is for the living. My mother was one of many. I never knew my father. But my mother always created helpers, and I always was fascinated how the people always coming to hunt us and kill us became our friends the next day after my mother dealt with them. All my life I've been in the run, and you say you see the light. I have never seen the light. All I see is darkness. Well, after you learn to embrace the darkness, you always have to remember, without darkness, there's no light. And without light, there's no darkness. And,
Yes.
And since that's always been my teaching, I always keep my friends close, but I always keep my enemies closer. And I pat my 4 friends in the head.
Elian looks at the friends suspiciously, wondering if they're enemies.
They're not enemies. They are good friends. They always say and do as I move my hands. I've been spinning my hands for 10 minutes now. I create a tiny hut, and they all 4 of them go in for a nice rest.
Is there anything more that you can tell us about the puzzle?
Well, Sylvia, do you want to tell them more about our puzzle?
We could. I'm never quite sure who all I can trust. It takes me a bit before I'm willing to warm up about the important things, just in case.
I completely understand your residence. But if we are to put our lives in danger for the great of the world, it would be good to know as much as possible within reason of what we're fighting for.
These puzzle pieces. We're hoping that if we can get them together and put the puzzle together in time, perhaps we can make the world better in a way. Undo things that should not have occurred and, well,
Changing the past and the future. That seems interesting. Can this alter time?
possibly. We're not sure yet, but if we have the chance to go back and make things better, shouldn't we take that chance?
Certainly seems reasonable to me.
It depends how far. Because sometimes you might go back to the beginning of something could be worse. That you have to relive twice. And sometimes memories should be kept as memories.
I am sure once we have acquired the power, we'll be able to use it wisely.
Hey, if they know what they're doing, I'm all for it. As long as they don't, turn back time and we end up in the top of a volcano or something. You never know.
Well, I'm very fond of time magic myself. However, so you remember how I kind of said there's like a world to save, right? And I was talking to you about the dragons a little bit. They've basically done this thing called the Tontine. And that being said, the dragons kind of have decided to divide the world amongst themselves. And when they did that, they've kind of done some awful things that have displaced a lot of the land and turned places and people into things that they shouldn't be. That red dragon actually pulling the strings of two great women that were destined for much more than to be his puppets, I'd say. There's a lot to it, and if we could just alter time enough to stop these things from happening, maybe the world could remain a better, positive place than what we kind of are currently seeing with a million zombie army marching through the world and shit going all to hell all around.
That doesn't sound so bad.
But you must never mention the Tontine in front of another dragon. That's very, very important. We learned that lesson, didn't we, Handuk?
Yes.
Duke, can you explain in more detail?
What's the situation with the Tontine?
Yes, it seems like an important matter.
It's incredibly important. It's essentially the dragons all fighting against each other for the great prize. But the humans are the ones getting in the way. So I didn't know if you knew this, but nearly every nation state on this continent is either controlled by a dragon or a dragon, essentially. A few places here, like the Library of Calthrax, is controlled by a Tinkerer Gnomes. There is Glaciavus, which is controlled by some horrible devil, apparently. But there's really no stable places except for perhaps Harboron now.
I wouldn't necessarily say that Harboron is stable, Honduke, with the red dragon looming in the mountains behind them.
Yes, but at least they have jobs for the people.
This is true, and no hags or oaths being taken there.
Well, wait. Mr. Scully's mother was a hag, so we have to be perhaps a little more sensitive about speaking about hags.
Well, I meant no harm. I just know what detriment hags were to you personally, Honduke, and the people of Matria, and
Some people don't understand. I know what the matter is, and I understand what the consequences. So I just don't. I told my story very little. Just you guys seem like a good bunch. I told my story, but yeah, please don't let anybody else know who my mother was. People don't take that kindly. They think, oh, she did this, she did that, but she didn't do anything. People did it to her, and she did things in her self-defense.
Plus, you never talk about another person's mother.
Yes, as long as you can say as you want us, as any hag, but as long as it's not my mother, we were fine. We didn't matter.
Have you heard of the hag Mother Portibus?
It sounds familiar, but
Yes.
I do not recall.
I do understand about misunderstandings of one's mother. At least yours could speak to you. I was raised by wolves. So excuse me if I seem like I translate when I talk.
Interesting.
I certainly feel better knowing that. I was mildly concerned that you had an affliction of some sort.
well, it's good to know that that you're okay. Because yes, I also was slightly concerned. I just didn't want to touch any sensitive topics, but glad to know. Honduke did mention the Tinkerer at Calfax, who is, I dare say, a friend of ours, and is helping us put these pieces of the puzzle together.
Tinkerers are quite adept at mechanical devices such as puzzles.
Oh, absolutely, we are. I'm a bit of a tinkerer myself. I hope to be as great as the Tinkerer at Calfax one day.
Yes. And apparently, one of these pieces of the puzzle is an amazing item that we can use to tinker extremely well with, apparently.
Yes. Ooh, the one at the lighthouse, I believe.
Yes. And so this brings me to thinking about the puzzle pieces and actually how we get them. And so what I was saying is like, I think that it's very wise for us. And then I go over by the fire and I stretch my old back. It was very wise of us if we use both our incredible powers of force and diplomacy and trickery. to get these items, because some of them may be guarded by things I believe that are above our abilities. Even as the strongest group as I've seen stands before me, there will be, for instance, Maestro, the Red Dragon. What do you know of him, Rin? Is he defeatable?
Any foe has a weakness. I've yet to learn his, but will.
Well, we do have a book by Haddam Abashusha called The Dragon's Flight that does have a little bit of information about dragons and their sorts. Maybe we could find something in that book that will help us when it gets to the point of dealing with these other dragons such as Maestro.
Ren grins toothfully and says, "That would be wonderful."
Does the book in any way discuss ways to tame such beasts?
It discusses a lot, I think. I don't know if it necessarily says how to tame them, but it talks about their living styles. Like, aha, here, I'll pull the book out of my bag because I have this book. Some notes that I have from the book say, for instance, since we're going to the Fjordlands, that cold weather dragons do not breed until they're 2 years old, but 1 year winged beast may select an eerie and defined territory. The dragon is adept to the pursuits of killing winged beast in flight. Its shape is streamlined and rounded, so it talks a lot about what they kind of look like and how they do things. Oh, that they have a devoted tradition. Like a white one. There is a white one in the Fjordlands. Let me see here. Let me continue consulting my notes. There's a white one in the tundra region of the Fjordlands. And I believe the other one that was there was mentioned was a silver one. I do not quite recall their names. That part slips me. I'm not sure if I got that written in my notes.
So it sounds like what we have then is a sort of breeding guide. It discusses their plumage, their mating habits, etc. I suppose this could be useful if we decide to breed them for some reason.
No, this book talks more of more than just their breeding. It talks of the Tontine as well, and it also talks about their hunting tactics and things like that. It was written by a great man, Haddam Abashusha, and I'll let you look over a copy of this book another time.
I'm sure it will be quite enlightening.
So after this night, where shall we head? Towards the Fjordlands, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But which way?
Well, that's a good question. We hadn't quite really discussed that part yet. We can either go through Broadwalk or around it, which, given our last interaction there, I much prefer to go around it.
It's gonna be better for us to go around. I'll explain when we're on the road later why exactly, but you never know who's listening. Not that I doubt that we're safe here and can speak freely, but
Yes, let's just say they didn't have any water, so the motherfucker burned. Yes, that's how it went. Some parts of that place are more combustible than others. If you didn't know, for scientific purposes, now you do. So yes, we will head, I think, probably around it, maybe through the woods.
I do know the woods quite well around that region. So that sounds smart.
Yes. And honestly, it would be better to not travel through roads as much as possible and stick to less inconspicuous ways of travel. Just there are many reasons why it's if we could keep as little people as possible knowing our whereabouts, it's probably going to be for the best.
It's just that it's so hard on my back when we go on these cross-country missions, Sylvia.
Well, sir, if you need assistance at all, you have my back if needed.
Oh, I appreciate it. I think I may start walking with a cane or staff.
You needn't worry about me. Bryden has a pack that I can ride inside of, so our enemies will not be aware of my presence.
Handuk, I could probably fashion you a very fancy-looking cane or staff, something designed specifically for you that resembles the very beautiful stars of the night. And
Yes. And perhaps a lithe female elven body on the handle.
I might be able to even carve that.
Yes, and that will represent the Star Child.
Well, I'll make sure the head on that thing is really big.
I miss the Star Child so badly.
I'm sure she's out there breaking hearts and letting people into the library with her library card.
I will tonight. I will scry upon the Star Child and see her whereabouts, and wish her a good night.
Well, maybe we'll find out what they've been up to. Let us know how they are, yeah, Handuk?
I will ask what their thing. That I had talked to the Star Child last night, and she said that they had slain Lifka, the necromancer.
Lifka Viverendi?
Yes.
Where?
In the area of Matria.
They were in Matria.
Or perhaps they were in Broadwalk. I get confused. But yes, they had slain Lifka. And that is also why I wanted to tell you that now my soul is free, and that if I had dropped to below 0 hit points, you should not burn me and destroy me and let me become Mr. Scully's 5th companion. I would want you to bring me back, okay? Don't destroy me.
Okay, Handuk.
Oh. I take out a sheet of paper and just kind of make a few notes and scratch things out before quickly stuffing it back in my bag. Okay, so no burning your remains. Got it.
No. And as a matter of fact, after I consulted with the very star god, the very god of the universe, I had found that my question was, is my soul free? And what will happen with all the zombies that wander? And the zombies will remain. Just because their their necromantic master has been destroyed, the zombies are not destroyed in this process. Although my soul is free because the hags have been destroyed. This is very good news for me.
Handuk, did the Star Child perhaps say if Bandola was there too?
No, I don't remember that.
I will turn to Sylvia. Sylvia, do you remember the night when we came back and there was the concert and that woman was singing, Bandola, what's her name? Mangard's side chick, remember?
Oh, I remember.
So I have been thinking about her a lot and where she could have gone. And I had remembered that she had been on stage. You know, Livka Viverandi was right in our faces and we had no idea.
I did not know that at the time.
Yeah, that blonde bloke that she was on the stage with.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, they left and went to Matria. That was when Belvoka and the Saizan, when they had their battle in Matria and they had killed the Hags. That was what happened the night that Livka and Bandola left for Matria. So she was tied with Livka. I don't know if there was some reason why, whether he was just another magical singing man, or whether she is involved in his necromancy plots or things like that. But if she wasn't there when Olazana and Don took out Livka, then she's still somewhere. And we probably should think about that as we travel.
I hate to say it, but with our luck, she's probably involved somehow. So she's going to be a problem we'll have to deal with later.
Well, isn't she the one that you guys saw when you went down and freed Vanka?
Yeah, she was.
So do you think maybe we could, since Handuk did heal Venka and she got away safely, do you think maybe we're in a position now to come across her when we make a trip to Harboron for a puzzle piece to maybe talk to Zada and her? And maybe they might know a little bit about Bandola. Since we need to really speak to Venka anyways, because piece of the puzzle, you know, Wanty.
Yeah. We might be in a position to do that. Honestly, there's so much we don't know about her. I'd like to think that maybe she'll be willing to speak with us after getting her out of there, but we need to approach with caution.
Are you talking about Bandora or Bandola?
Bandora, that's her name.
But were you saying that we should talk about Venka?
No. I'm saying that Venka and Bandora are clearly not friends. And when we talk to Venka, because it's something that we have to do at some point, that we should ask her about Bandora, since Bandora was involved with Livka and the Million Zombie Army.
What was the other thing that was involved with the millions? The Hags, the Livka, the what were they called? The Joyful End.
Oh, the Joyful End and Broadwalk. We should. I wonder. You know,
And those dragons were involved. The copper dragons, perhaps bronze dragons.
Copper.
Yep, the copper dragons.
Were they involved with the Joyful End?
Yeah, well, remember the Joyful End was wanting to
jump in the pit.
Hags. They were trying to get rid of the Hags. They didn't know Livka was going to turn those people into zombies, I don't think.
But the copper dragons knew that the Matrian Oath was a soul-rotting worm.
Well, yes, because the copper dragons were working with the Joyful End, remember?
Yes.
They were in their lair. That's, speaking of copper dragons, that's how we know you don't mention the Tontine in front of dragons, because our friend Handuk sometimes gets to rambling and happened to mention it in front of them, and they got their scales all in a bunch.
Yeah, 1 minute they were telling jokes, and the next minute they were going to eat us for lunch.
Yeah, what was it that they called you? Boomer, right?
They called me a boomer.
Okay, yes, but you know what? We peacefully resolved that. I think we're on good terms with them.
Yes, in the joyful end. They were in sort of relations with the Saizan, and Belvoca and Sylvia are, I would say, becoming more friendly than they were before.
So let me think of this. When it all started with the Council for Shared Economic Prosperity in Broadwalk so long ago. Venkasuran was responsible for the near assassination of every single nation's representative.
Mm-hmm. Because I think she was
also involved in the siege of Miss Lake. And she's also involved with Escort College. What do these three things mean together is what we must know.
Handu, didn't you scry on her once and find her and Zada speaking of Maestro?
Oh my, I forget.
I believe so. I remember you. After she had escaped Escort, she went to Harboron to see Zada, and they talked of Maestro. What if?
Oh, I have a whole thing. Meta.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe she is not making decisions because she wants to really for her own self, but maybe that dragon is kind of pulling her strings.
This is possible.
Well, we'll find out because, Handuk, we do have to talk to her at some point because she has information that we need.
Most definitely.
If things work out well, she could be a potentially great ally to us. Or that just may be me thinking better than the situation requires.
Well, good people sometimes do bad things. Handuk and I had a small conversation very similar to that earlier. Maybe she's got some good inside of her and really is kind of lost in the myth and the fairy tale of this punk-ass dragon. Because you know how dragons can be very convincing, especially if they're red dragons that like to pull strings and they're full grown. He's been around a very long time, which means he's probably an ancient dragon.
He's a boomer of dragons.
He's a dragon boomer. He's a dragon boomer.
Very frightening indeed. A dragon that can cause explosions.
Oh my.
Fascinating.
So maybe she's better. Maybe she wants to be better. Who knows,
Oh, certainly I wouldn't just want to go assassinate her. That's not the way Handuk does it.
It's definitely not Handuk because you have class. You are a classy gentleman.
Yes, I mean, to go from the resource recycling area to now, look at me, look at my robes. They're very fine.
They are very fine. And, Handuk, you'll be able to leave behind a legacy of something other than pushing shit around the sanitation system ponds.
Yes, or my legacy of giving hundreds of people the Matrian Oath and having them turn into zombies when they perish.
Well, nobody has to know that was you.
You know what?
You won't tell.
The best part about if we accomplish all the things we do, we get to basically decide how history is written, including the good and bad parts of our past.
And we'll eliminate all of the bad and keep all of the good.
Excellent
Hopefully.
plan.
Couldn't say it better myself.
Each according to their own way.
Sorry.
But good is good, isn't it?
It must be measurable.
But is it not one that you should learn from the bad in order to be truly good?
She makes a good point, Handuk.
Yes. I am always interested in philosophical discussions.
Well,
But my bones are growing old, and I must bid you all adieu. I'm going up to the room. I'm going to my tent. And I should not want to see any of your brothers in my tent, Mr. Scully, please. As funny as that would be.
I got my tiny hut. It's a magical tent that'll protect me against everything and all.
Yes, I bid you good night, party. I will see you in the morning, aka next Sunday.
all right.
And with that, I think we will all be heading off for the evening. And we'll see you guys next week.
Wonderful.